game day.
Welcome in to another episode of Chiefs Focus Live. We've got a full crew today. We've got some stuff to talk about. Not a lot of Chiefs stuff, but a lot of stuff that happened around the NFL that affects Kansas City, including a couple of trades. The Jets got marginally better, I guess, and the Bills may actually have gotten significantly better. We're also going to talk about the rest of the AFC West and check in on how the rest of the division is doing. And wherever the hell the show goes. So with that being said, we got Thiz running the show in the background. My name is Quentin Morris. And now two guys whose sports takes move as fast as the Jets trades do. It's two guys, Philip and JP. How are we doing today? I mean, that trade happened. I mean, it was like it happened. Everybody knew it was going to happen. And then it just happened. It was just like, boom. There was no, extra rumor mill that happened.
Doing good, man.
There wasn't going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we heard. We heard that was going to happen. I mean,
it's like the worst kept.
We heard that a long time ago that he was. It really was. I mean, it was just so stupid. I mean, what made me laugh, I think, the most was everybody saying, "Well, do you think the Chiefs can get him? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you on dope? How would you actually think the Chiefs were going to end up with Davante Adams coming from the Raiders?"
I love this
anyway
headline from The Athletic. It says, "Thinking is overrated. A coach fired in a blockbuster trade as Woody Johnson Jets breed chaos." Yes. Thank you.
That's pretty good. That is good.
Oh, God. I thought it was wild, man, when I saw the news with Davante Adams, but I almost like, well, it's not a surprise. I mean, he's reunited with Aaron Rodgers, but everybody knows Aaron Rodgers is running that team over there now. So,
yeah. I mean, he should. I mean, and for anybody to think that he had no input on Saleh being fired, they're crazy. He had every bit of it. I mean, they've already proven that Woody went out and actually met up with Rodgers the night before it happened, before the firing happened, and then the next day he's fired. But Rodgers said, "Yeah, I had no input on it." Come on, man, please. Everybody knows you did.
He thinks that like everybody is just like stupid. Like it's insulting how he thinks everybody is just dumb.
Well, he was a runner-up on Jeopardy.
God.
I'm just saying. So he must be pretty intelligent. He's got that Alex Trebek mentality, so he must be pretty smart. I mean, if you can read a teleprompter and know the answers, you're pretty good off, or pretty well off, I guess. But anyway, you know what? I don't know if it's going to help him. Do you? Do you think it's going to help Rodgers?
No,
because he's not playing well.
Here's the trade compensation, just because I have it in front of me before I forget. So
that was insane, by the way. Put that out there. That was nuts.
Jets traded a conditional third-round pick to the Raiders for Davante Adams. It turns into a second if he is an All-Pro or if he is active for an AFC championship game or the Super Bowl. They got the Jets are also taking on the contract, so the Raiders aren't going to eat the money. The Jets are going to have to pay the rest of his remaining salary this year. So there's that. In terms of what do I think this means for the Jets, I think it means basically nothing. I know Davante Adams is a very good wide receiver. I still think that there's an argument that he is easily a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. I just do not think very much of the Jets. I think that Aaron Rodgers is I think Aaron Rodgers is a below average quarterback at this point. Father time has hit him hard, and his refusal to adapt to the modern NFL in terms of accepting motion and things like that, he is not going to get past the point to where his talent is not going to take care of it anymore. So where in the past, where he was just so gifted with throwing the football where he didn't need these sort of quote unquote handicaps, in the modern NFL, you're not good enough anymore. You need those motions. You need play action. You need a decent run game. And he isn't talented enough. So, the benefit of having a Davante Adams is for him to attack deep down the field. And you have an offensive line that can't block for more than 2.5 seconds. How much is that really going to help?
There's something there, Quentin. You just said it there, the offensive line, especially Tyron Smith. Do you see the way Tyron Smith is blocking for Aaron Rodgers? He is terrible this year. He's allowed 5 sacks this year. That's like the third worst among left tackles in the league this year. Colton Miller for the Raiders is allowed more, but Tyron Smith, like last night against the Bills, he allowed Aaron Rodgers to get hit. I mean, your left tackle is like the most important position on the offensive line. And on top of that, on like one of the top 3 positions on offense. And if you can't do your job, especially to keep the number 1 position on your offensive team, the quarterback, protected, then how are you going to have success? And I think that's really going to be the question going forward. Like if Smith keeps playing the way that he's playing, you might as well put the rookie left tackle you got from Penn State that I talked about in there. So,
yeah, I agree. And, I don't know if it's talent for Rodgers or if it's willingness to play the game anymore. I don't think he's lost his talent. I think he's just not willing. I don't think he has
I don't think he cares, bro.
That's what it is. I don't think he really wants. He doesn't have the motivation to play the game the way he did 3 years ago or 4 years ago. I don't know, man. It's weird. Nobody loses their talent that quickly. He still has a good arm.
He also just isn't mobile. Like that's the other thing.
No, he's not mobile.
When things break down, right, he can't create that second play, right? Whereas in the past, if it were to break down, he could do more than just take one step in the pocket and make a throw. He could bootleg out, he could peel out a little bit. He does not have that anymore. So yeah, he has the arm talent is still there, but the rest of, it's his arrogance. It's the fact that it's his way or the highway. He cannot adapt. Right, he's not talented enough to be able to have that mentality anymore. And he just has the stance of, oh, I'm Aaron Rodgers. I can do whatever I want. And when he got to New York, everything was given to him. And so now he's like this super entitled guy who is not talented enough to be able to hold up to that point. We have learned in sports and business that, not everybody is treated equally, right? Where if you're a super talented individual at whatever job you do, you can get away with more things, right? But the moment that you are no longer up on that upper tier, you can't get away with those things anymore. And that's where Aaron Rodgers is. He just hasn't figured it out yet.
I agree. I think this will be his last year. If they don't make the playoffs, or even if somehow they squeeze a playoff in there and they don't win a game, I think he's done. I don't think he'll come back next year. Why would he? I mean, he doesn't look. If you look at the trajectory of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, and I said this when he went to the Jets, he's on that Brett Favre, train. Favre did okay with the Jets, but he wasn't Brett Favre from Green Bay. And then when he went to Minnesota, he just fell flat. We all know that. He was over the hill. He was done. His body was beat to death. I think Rodgers is going through that too. I think his body's just breaking down on him, and he just can't do what he used to. I mean, Russell Wilson's 35 years old, and he can't do what he used to do.
Right.
So I think Rodgers is just kind of done. I mean, I think mentally he's done. I think it's just too much pressure for him now. He's got other things he wants to do in life.
Think about, there was almost two.
He needs to go on another retreat.
Yeah, he needs to go on a retreat for about 40 years. Look, the Jets need to win.
Yeah.
They're 2-4 right now. They need to win 8 games to get to 10 wins to make the playoffs. Do we really think the Jets are winning 8 out of the next how many games? 11 games that are left? No, they're not going 8-3. Okay, that's not happening. The Jets are not making the playoffs. The Jets are a joke of a franchise, and Kansas City should be happy that the Jets are in the AFC.
That's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
True that.
There you go.
I love it.
What's up, Will?
What's up?
The other trade.
If you look at teams like the Jets, hold on. If you look at teams like the Jets, and I feel sorry for the fan base. When you really think about it, you got to feel sorry for their fan base, because how long has it been since they've been relevant? I mean, think about it. I mean, even close to being relevant.
Since butt fumble days, right?
Years.
Yeah. Darrell Reeves days.
Darrell Reeves days. I mean, you're talking a long time. And Woody Johnson, I think he needs to get his hands off his Johnson and think about maybe letting somebody else take the reins of that football team. He has no clue what he's doing, I don't think. First of all, the compensation that he gave up for Adams and didn't even fight for anything, fought for nothing. You know what? We're going to flip $17.5 million. Oh, and by the way, there's also a $250,000 per game bonus that he gets. We're going to go ahead and flip that too. I mean, how do you not say, wait a minute, I'm giving you a third. There's no way he's going to turn into a second, not with what the conditions are. But I'm giving you a third for a 31-year-old wide receiver. And plus I'm basically giving him well over $20 million. I'm just letting, the Raiders just ended up with $12 million in cap space because of that. $12 million because of that freaking trade. They look like geniuses right now. Telesco looks like a genius, and he's a fucking idiot. And right now he looks like a damn genius. So I don't know, man. I think the Jets are just grasping. That was a desperation move for a desperate quarterback, a desperate owner. And now they're going to probably still be enough. If they win 4 to 6 more games, they'll be lucky. That's all I got to say about that. What was the other trade, Quentin?
Buffalo acquired Amari Cooper from the Cleveland Browns.
You know why wait a minute. There's only one reason why that happened.
We all know
one
why.
reason. We all know why that happened.
Well, they needed a number 1 wide receiver.
He was doing just fine, dude. It had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with the fact that the Chiefs were talking to Cleveland about Amari Cooper. They did not want the Chiefs to end up with him. They would have never done it if Rashee Rice was on the field right now. I promise you that would have never happened.
I think that
would have never happened.
I think this is a very good move for the Bills.
Well, yeah, it is, but
Amari Cooper is a very talented wide receiver. I did want the Chiefs to go out and trade for him, just to get the details out of the way. The Bills traded a 3rd-round pick in 2025 and a 7th-round pick in 26 for Amari Cooper and a 2025 6th-round pick. So in return, this is that's a very good deal for Amari Cooper. I think he is one of those, top number 1 wide receivers, like fringe number 1 wide receiver type guys. Look, Buffalo was, and I believe I'd been talking about this on the show, where Buffalo has really just been the Josh Allen show, and there's nobody else on that offense. And so to actually get him a viable weapon that has NFL experience, I think is really going to help Buffalo out. And I think that they have made themselves more of a threat in the AFC after this move. I think this is a very good move for Buffalo, and it sucks that Kansas City didn't end up with him.
It wasn't going to, I don't think it would have happened. I really don't. Everybody knows that, what did I tell you on the phone, Philip? I think I even said it in the chat.
We did. We talked about it. You even said that do not be surprised if teams are going to outbid Amari Cooper over us, because once again, they're going to do whatever it takes to keep us from winning. They're trying to beat us, man. It's
Yep, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, they needed a wide receiver. There's no doubt. But they could have went after Johnson. They could have went after anybody else. But they go after Amari Cooper.
They just mad because we still got Xavier Worthy over them. They still mad.
Well, that's a lot of it too. I guarantee you that's still mad about that. But it's sad that, and I knew it was going to happen. I knew it. As soon as the Chiefs showed interest in any wide receiver of caliber, some other team was going to outbid them. And that's exactly, who was it a couple of years ago? The Bills went and signed over because we wanted him. And then they ended up cutting the guy. And I can't think of who it was. It might have been a defensive player, but they ended up cutting him. They do this shit all the time. They're not going to cut Amari Cooper because Josh Allen is struggling with wide receivers. And after the last couple of games that they had, it was a 3-point game against the fucking Jets. And the Jets are struggling. And then you got the game, they lost a game. They've had a couple, 3 bad games, and it was almost like a streak of bad games for them. I get it. Don't know what happened to their star rookie that didn't pan out, that wasn't better than, what's his name?
Keon Coleman.
He's had flashes, but he's not that guy that they thought were going to be And I agree with you, Pablo. They are sleeping on Juju.
Yeah. He can't separate from press coverage. I mean, he's big and all, and they mocked him like to be like the next D-Hop. But if you cannot separate from press coverage in the National Football League, how are you going to have success? So, yeah.
Yeah. And Pablo is right. I mean, Veach wasn't like pounding the tables for anyone. Yeah, he was actively looking for a player, and he probably still is. But now he's looking for more depth because he's going to utilize what he has. If he can't find a number one wide receiver to step in, which he can't, there's really no number one wide receivers left. And I don't know anybody that has a number one right now that's going to trade him off, or even a number two for that matter. I mean, I just don't see it happening. I figured Cleveland was going to go on a fire sale pretty quick, and I knew Amari Cooper would be next. But I knew, I mean, there was a 80% chance we wouldn't get him because there's too many other teams that were just trying for him. It's annoying, but it is what it is. I don't know if he's going to be the answer to all their problems because a lot of their issues are play calling and time management. It always has been. So when Pacheco gets back, also they're just trying to win as many games as they can. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, and these teams are going to do that. They know that when it comes to the playoffs, regardless of what happens in regular season, when it comes to the playoffs, they still have to get past us. And we're a different football team in the playoffs. We always are. No matter what anybody says, we're a different football team. Exactly. We have players on our practice squad that can step up and actually fill a couple of spots.
You saw that when Jody came back, man, and you seen that with Juju coming back. You seeing that with Kareem coming back. And I'm just saying, man, imagine when Pacheco comes back. I'm anticipating week 10 or week 11 when he returns. And once he returns, man, oh my gosh, man, watch out, League, Pacheco and Hunt. And then also, this is what I think we need to do to avoid talking about getting another number one wide receiver. Utilize Kelsey, utilize Noah Gray, utilize your 12, 13, 14 personnel. I mean, and especially when you got the run game going, and now you're bringing back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now you got 3 healthy running backs, including Carson Steele, who's really a fullback, but that's fine. Like a Mike Tolbert type fullback, and I'm cool with that. But with that balance, especially like I said, it's going to be a long season because there's no bye weeks after this when we get back. It's a long season after this, man. So
it is. It is. I just hope I hope the guys that were kind of beat up in week 5 come back in week 7 healthy, because we can't afford any more injuries. That's for sure. Absolutely. And we can't afford anybody to just be struggling along. But I think I'm not really concerned. Look, with what we had last year, 43 drops on the season total, and the miscues and everything else, and still won a Super Bowl, I'm okay. I'm okay with what we've got. And we will have – go ahead, Quentin.
I just want to push back on something that there is no number one wide receiver on the market, right? That's
what I said. Yeah,
there's
nobody.
Amari Cooper was really unless the Titans end up trading away DeAndre Hopkins, which I don't really see happening. Kansas City is not going to acquire, a big name. I think Amari Cooper was the only one that was really, just because the way the contract was structured. He's basically nothing against the cap to go get because the Browns had already paid out most of his contract at the beginning of the year. They had moved all of his roster into a bonus. They had moved all of his salary into a bonus. So he was just so easy to trade. There are only a couple of guys that I think are really realistic for Kansas City to go out and get. I know one of them is probably going to upset people, but Demarcus Robinson from the Rams, I know is one that it would. I mean, because that's what Kansas City really needs to be looking for, right? They need to be looking for a 500 to 700 yard receiver, right? That's where they should be. They need to be able to find a guy who is just a little bit better than like a McCole Hardman. Yeah, I know. They need to find a guy that is just a little bit more consistent than a McCole Hardman. Those are the kind of guys that they need to go out and acquire. I'm still keeping my eye on Darius Slayton from New York. That's a guy that I brought up a couple of times on this show. Consistently been a 780 yard receiver throughout his career. I think fits the skill set that Kansas City could need. That's the kind of guy that I think you should be interested in. And based on what the wide receiver market is, in terms of what the Amari Cooper trade has sort of set the market as, I think it's very reasonable for Kansas City to go and get a guy like that from New York. It's not like they're going anywhere, and a team like that could always use the extra draft assets.
Well, another, and his name has been tossed around a little bit, along with, weirdly enough, and I would much rather see D-Rob back than MVS. But
Yeah.
MVS name has been tossed around a couple
Yeah,
of times.
why are we doing
I
this
don't
to
know.
ourselves?
I don't
people?
know, but I'm just telling you that that's from insiders information that was something that got tossed around. I mean, look, I would much rather have Demarcus Robinson back.
Yeah.
I just would. He knows the system. Yeah, he may run backwards here and there, but without Tyreek being here, he's just going to go forward. He was just trying to pull the Tyreek. It's really what he was doing. If you really look at how he played prior or when he first came into the league, and then when Tyreek blew up, he wanted to try and do the things that Tyreek was able to do. Well, he doesn't have Tyreek to contend with here. He really doesn't. He really didn't have anybody to contend with now other than Worthy, a rookie. I would much rather have D-Rob back on the field.
Yeah, and that depends on what the Rams think of themselves. Do they feel themselves as contenders? When is Puka Nacua coming back? When is Cooper Kupp coming back? Because he's sort of turned into their bona fide one receiver, as those two guys have been out due to injury. So, it really, to me, is going to depend on how the Rams feel about their situation. They're definitely still in the race for that NFC West. It's been a very close race. I think the 49ers are leading that division at 3-3.
Yeah.
So nobody is out of that division. It's a very competitive division. So it's really going to depend on the health of Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp if they just decide to move off of Robinson. I would feel it's hard for the Rams to see where they are in that division and start trading away pieces. So I think that out of what Kansas City has done in the past, where they've, gone out and acquired, like when they went out and traded for McCole Hardman, right? Like they brought a guy back. It didn't really cost them anything. That's the kind of trade I'm expecting them to go out and make. And so Demarcus Robinson, for the most part, fits that mold. It's just I don't know if the Rams are willing to move off of Demarcus Robinson.
Well, there's a huge difference between a 1-5 football team or a 1-4 football team versus a 3-3 in that division, because you're right. I mean, they're not that far away. So
yeah,
it'd be difficult to give up assets when you have two assets that are sidelined right now. One name that was thrown around a couple of times that I've been told a couple of times here this last week is Hunter Renfrow. He's sitting at home. He's a good ball player still. He's only 29 years old. So I wouldn't be upset. The only thing is it's going to take him some time to get back into football shape because he hasn't touched a field in a long time. Mm-hmm. But I think if they brought him in, he's a pretty good over the middle type of guy. And he's still got speed.
Slot guy.
It's crazy. Hunter Renfrow was a guy I wanted them to bring in the offseason. And it's gotten to the point now where it's like, if nobody's made that phone call, there's got to be a reason why.
I think it's just because there's so much friggin' talent in the league right now. There's an ignorant amount of talent.
Because this was a guy that, he works really well in that inside spot. He's a heavy, possession guy. Like, he's everything that you're searching for right now. It's just weird that nobody has made that phone call, especially when, there are other teams that need wide receivers right now. So it's weird that nobody else is making that phone call.
I don't know. I don't know why, but his name was brought up to me. So
it should have been brought up in June.
I agree with you. And I think it was, if I remember right, somebody brought his name up back in the off season. And then they decided not to go that route. And I don't know what the reason was. Pablo asked about Jerry Jeudy. I don't know how that would work. I haven't heard his name floating around at all. I don't know if that would work out or not. I
Mm.
mean, I just don't know.
Didn't the
I just-
Broncos
I
just trade him
personally-
to somebody?
Yeah, they just traded him to the Browns.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So,
right. He went to the Browns. That's right. So, and the Broncos.
I mean,
would
I
never
guess
trade
the
with us
thought
anyway. I
process
don't-
is right. They traded away Amari Cooper, so are they going to fire
Yeah.
sale?
Well, the Browns, from what I've heard from everybody, even James Palmer said they're absolutely having a fire sale. I mean, he flat out told me that they're having a fire sale.
Miles Garrett.
No, that's not
Miles
happening.
Garrett, I don't think they'll get that. Won't happen. His
I
contract.
know. I'm about to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His contract is huge. It's like, okay, it's no different than D-Hop. I think
Right.
people need to look at his contract and go, wait a minute. Number one, the Titans aren't going to eat that entire thing. The Chiefs don't have the cap space for it.
Nope.
So I just don't see it happening. I mean, even for the remaining amount of this year, he's owed a pretty decent amount of money, a lot more than we have in cap. We need to sign somebody, a D-Rob, a Renfro, some guy that's going to cost us $1 million or less for the rest of the season. That's what we need.
I do like the Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy is a good one to bring up. He's only this year he's only making a few $1 million against the cap this year. So he literally has a $1.5 million base salary for the next couple of years.
Can you imagine though? I mean, poor bastard. He just moved. He got settled in, got his little apartment or whatever he's doing there. And they said, oh, by the way, you got to break your lease. You're going to Kansas City. He is a big body wide receiver. But you know who else is a big body receiver, Quentin?
Huh?
You know who else is a big body wide receiver?
Don't you fucking do
I
it.
think Philip knows who he is.
Don't do it. Don't
He's
do
sitting
this.
on our practice squad right now.
Yeah.
And,
He wears a number 8.
He wears a number 8.
He actually doesn't
It's
wear a
crazy.
number, and he hasn't wore a number in like 6 years.
Ross. is a
Oh
big body
boy,
wide
Tom,
receiver. Ross.
bro. If
Ross is a
Juju
big
can
body
step
wide
up,
receiver.
then Ross can step up too. Come on, man.
Stop.
That's right. And
Stop
Ross ain't
it.
got. I mean, look,
Stop.
Ross ain't been injured in a while. He's okay.
Wow,
He's a
what
pretty good
a
shape.
low bar. Hey, you've been healthy because you haven't been on the field. Congratulations. Don't compare Ross to Juju Smith-Schuster, who has been 1,000-yard receiver and has proven to be an NFL
Okay, he was a
asset.
1,000-yard receiver 5 years ago.
5 years ago, that was 2018, bro.
His
That
knees,
is
his
more-
knee looked like a fucking cantaloupe.
Don't
Have you
you
seen
can't
that
you
motherfucker's
can't have
knee?
your cake and eat it too. You can't talk about how good he looked and how good he's going to be, and then also backtrack and be like, "Did you see his knee?" No, I'm not allowing that.
Look, man, wide receivers do very good in our system. It is what it is. I love Juju. Don't get me wrong. But he has had his injuries that have, well, I mean, one of the reasons why he was booted out of New England was because of his knee and his shoulder, mainly his knee. He's doing really well with us. It took him a little bit to get in. He did a really good job with us. He's going to continue to do a good job because he's a damn good wide receiver.
Throw
But you
him out
can't
with the
just live off one.
bathwater. He's washed, dude.
You can't. Here's the thing. If you put all that pressure on him to go out there and have 130-yard games every week, he's going to get injured. That knee's not ever going to be 100% again. He's that guy you want to step in when he has to, or be that secondary wide receiver that you know is going to be valuable and catch the ball.
Wide
Juju
receiver three.
Smith-Schuster, I think, is going to fit exactly what this team is looking for, because as right now, right, Kansas City is not looking for, a guy to go out there and dominate. And these next couple of weeks are going to be a big tell. Remember, the NFL moved the NFL trade deadline back another week. So it's like November November
Sorry.
4th or 5th.
Yeah.
So Kansas City has a couple of weeks. He just needs to keep doing it every week. He just needs to be able to be a guy that can catch the ball over the middle and just be part of the machine, right? Because Kansas City's not looking for, that true number one receiver, right? Because you can't.
Well, they
get
were,
that.
but he went to the Bills. So now
So
you got to look.
yeah,
at
I think that I do like the Jerry Jeudy. I don't remember who brought that up in the chat, but that's a very intriguing point and someone that I had not heard of. Plus, if you get him, you have a couple years control left too.
That's true, but I mean, look, they're going to have a fire sale. There's no doubt.
And
I'm just wondering
if Amari Cooper was worth that, Jerry Jeudy's going to be worth less than that. So, yeah, Pablo, good job with the Jerry Jeudy.
I agree. I mean, my whole thing is I don't know if they're going to, because he's got a very minimal hit. They are going to have a fire sale, but he may not be part of that sale. He's his salary is so team friendly. He may not be part of that sale. You got to think of the position they're in right now. They got Myles Garrett on a giant ass contract. And then you got Deshaun Watson that's got more legal problems.
$230 million guaranteed contract.
No matter
Deshaun
what.
Watson.
He's losing. I think they look at what the Broncos just went through with Russell Wilson. I don't know how they would be able to recover if they just launched everybody and then still had to pay his ass. Because a lot of those contracts, they're going to have to pay. It is what it is. I mean, well, yeah, they're going to want to build there, but you got to remember, if you don't have enough money left in the salary cap to get through the draft, that's going to screw you. And I mean, some of these guys, especially if they're going to go for first or second rounders, they're going to be spending some money. I don't know, man. And now with the way they're bumping up that amount of money for draft picks again, I think it's going to have to be, they're going to have to make a decision on who's the least amount of money they can, and the best players for the least amount of money, and hang on to those guys, because they're going to have somebody to complement those draft picks as well. So I don't know, man. I don't know how they're going to do it. They buried themselves, and I don't know how they're going to get out of it.
They need a stimulus.
They do need a stimulus, a fat one. They need a fat stimulus. I mean, look at Broncos. Dude, they're screwed for the next 2 years. 25 and 26, they're paying Russell Wilson an ignorant amount of money. And that motherfucker's a backup in Pittsburgh. He got hurt carrying his laundry or some shit, and he couldn't play for the first 5 games. So he's washed. But yet they got him for $1 million. So why not keep him as a backup? That's how the Browns have to look at things. Okay, who am I going to get that's a halfway deal? Yeah, Jeudy, 3 years, $52 million. $52 million. No way he's coming here. Chiefs will never pay that. Not for Jeudy. They just won't do it. They'll go out and pick up Hunter Renfrow.
I know. I was just looking at his cap number though, and his base salary for the next couple of years is $1.5 million, which means a lot of that money is movable.
Well, it may be, but in the same aspect, you still have to pick some of that up. You can't just, it can be moved.
Yeah, so like his cap hit this year is $4.7 million, and that's the number that matters.
Yeah, it's $2.7 million more than we have in the cap right now.
Yeah, but we know that number is movable too.
Well, it is, but I mean, I'm just saying,
especially
they can restructure him and give him $800,000 for the rest of the season.
Especially if you're only talking about a couple of $1 million, like that's nothing. Like this, if Kansas City, wanted to make this move, this is a totally doable move.
I just don't see it.
I agree.
I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. But you never know. Hey, man, Cleveland, they've done some dumb shit. There's no doubt about it.
They mostly are dumb shit. They're literally called the Browns.
That's true. That's right.
True.
He said y'all are talking to me into it.
I know. I'm thinking it's a good plus. Like I said, he's young. He's got years of control left.
Well, how old is he? 27 now?
25.
Yeah.
No. Judy's not 25, is he? Are you sure?
I'm on his over the cap page right now.
Holy shit, he's 20. Man, it feels like he's been in the league for like 8 years. Damn.
5 seasons. 2020, 2021, 22, 23, 24. 5 seasons.
He came in pretty okay. This makes sense. That he came in at 20. That's crazy. I thought he was older than that. There's only been a couple players that have come in really young like that. Juju was one of them. I mean, he was 20 when he came in the league.
I can't remember, but there was a first round pick that came into the league a few years ago, and he was in like they were doing one of those like draft parties, and they had alcohol there, but he couldn't drink because he was under
20 years old. Yeah, he was 20 years old.
I wish I remember. I can't remember who it was though. But yeah, like it's possible. You know, you
Wasn't
only
that
have to be in
Juju?
college for 3 years. I think it was Juju.
It was Juju. Yeah, that was Juju.
Yeah, because he's been in the league for so long.
Yeah. He's been in the league 7 years. Think about that. And he's 27.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was him. It had to have been him.
Yeah. So it was Juju. Anyway, I don't know. They got some. The Chiefs have some options. The greatest thing about this whole situation is they have talent on their team on both sides. They got really good coaching, and they with the addition of Kareem Hunt, I think it's gonna. I think it's gonna balance out for them.
Yeah. Plus,
Eventually, it will balance out.
you know,
Absolutely.
you're 5-0, right? Time is on your side here, right? You
Yeah.
don't need to go out and make a rash decision like the Jets did. Okay.
Nope.
You have until November 4th. You have another 6 weeks in order to figure out, what your team is going to look like and how you're going to do it. So this is not, I know we've seen, the first couple of dominoes fall, but that doesn't mean you need to go out and make a crazy decision. It is not, it's not upsetting that Kansas City hasn't made a move yet. Time is on our side.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest move they wanted to make is gone. So now Veach will just regroup, Andy will regroup, and they'll just move on from it. The funniest thing about it is the fans and the media, including us, were more worried about it than the Chiefs ever were. Mahomes doesn't give a shit. Andy really don't care. Yeah, he wants a player in there, but it's not like he's pounding the table for some number one big name guy. They got rid of their big name guy. And that's another thing. Whoever in a million years, and I don't know who it was, but somebody started the rumor of Tyreek Hill. That is not going to happen.
I know. Well,
Hang
he
that shit
slammed
up.
his helmet on the ground, and everybody's like, well, guess he should go back to Kansas City.
Yeah, well, it ain't going to happen. Kansas City would, first of all, they weren't going to pay him the money he wanted the first time. He just signed another extension for $60 million more on top of what he was making. It ain't going to happen. He's guaranteed a lot of money. Miami's not going to give up on that.
Nope.
And he doesn't want to really come back. He started a little bit of this shit when he was trolling, putting up those videos on Snapchat. But Mike Williams, he's got flashes still, but he's such an injury-prone player.
Yeah,
I'm
not. No, I'm not selling on Mike Williams.
I just don't see it happening. I think they're going to be. I'll be honest with you. I don't see the Chiefs doing anything at all until close to the trade deadline, if they do anything.
Yeah, because and that's Avicha's MO, right? Like that's just the way that this always works out.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. I'll be upset if they don't do anything, right? Because I do think that they need that one more, fix around the edge, finding that 500-yard receiver. That addition, I think that they are missing that right now. But I do expect them to do something. I don't think that doing nothing is a real option, but you don't need to make those decisions for another couple weeks.
And that's the thing, unless you get another injury. But they do have another 500-yard guy. You don't like him, but we have one. Just saying. We actually have probably two guys that could do it. Remigio's not bad either.
That would be. I would be interested in that. Oh, excuse me. I would be interested in that, especially because of his, ability in the special teams. But I still think that they need to find a solution out of house.
I just don't know. I guess the whole thing is you're going to go after somebody other than D-Rob. You got to think about these wide receivers. Got to come in and learn this system. There's a couple of smart guys out there, but there's also guys that are kind of set in their ways. And it's not easy to learn this system. We all know this. Everybody knows this. Andy's got a very complex playbook. I don't know. I think knowing the system with the guys that you have sometimes, especially with our team and the way our team is set up, you're better off going that route than going with some guy that's been in another system for 4 or 5 years or even 3 or 4 years and really doesn't know, a very generic, bland system to a degree compared to Andy Reid. His playbooks are stupid. They just are. His schemes are crazy. The guy takes something from 1940 out of a college game, mixes it with a 69 football game, NFL game, and then somehow makes his own shit. What happened to Sky Moore? He turned into McCall Hardman in 2020. That's what happened. 2021. He's more interested in buying jewelry and acting stupid on the sidelines, to be honest with you, than playing the game. That's what his problem is. I think he could be a damn good wide receiver, but he doesn't want to fucking do it. You want to know the truth? He just doesn't want to do it. He wants to smile with his 97 teeth that he's got, showing like he did something good on the sidelines. Motherfucker ain't done shit.
Posing on Esquire magazine, close to GQ magazine and all that. Yeah. Like, bro, if you want to be a supermodel, just go. All right.
Yeah. Go ask, Gigi Hadid how it's done and go. But you got to figure out which one you want to do. I guess maybe he's using the NFL as a bridge until he starts to get paid from being a model that he's not. I don't know what his plans are, but he's got to use his head because he almost fumbled that kickoff returned. He almost dropped that shit. His first time he gets the hands on a ball and he almost drops that. I don't trust him at all, man. So I don't know. I think he's just
McCall Hardman outplayed him in the last game. So yeah, give McCall more opportunities.
Yeah. McCall's biggest downfall is his hip surgery.
Yeah,
it's not any. Now he's learned to be more involved with the game. He's learned to listen to his coaches. When he got traded, that was a kick in the teeth. And when he came back, if anybody noticed, he wasn't on social media like he was. Hell, he was doing spaces with us. He stopped doing all that stuff. His hip injury and surgery limited his motion. He is not the same player he used to be. So I still think McColl's better than Sky Moore. But it's just Sky Moore's got to get his head out of his ass. Because and that's something that I know Veach was really pissed off about. Especially when he dropped that pass. Veach was sideways. And we said it on the show. He was pissed. And then it came out all over the place. He was pissed. And he was pissed. His mindset was, fuck him. He's going to the practice squad. I'm bringing somebody else up. That's where he was at that day. And he talked his ass off the ledge. So, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays forward. Okay, so we got to bring up something because it sucks. But then again, it's par for the course. If you really look at this team as a whole over the last, 15 years? It's par for the course for this football team. Jim Harbaugh had heart arrhythmia on the field, and they brought him to the tent, and they brought him out. They got him on a heart monitor. Man, can you? I mean, I feel bad for the guy. But can you imagine the Chargers? And I mean, how can you have such bad luck, Quentin?
I think that he has talked about how he's had this happen to him in the past. But I mean, look, he came back out, right? So he came back out on the field and he coached the rest of the game. So, good for him. Seems like everything's on the up and up now, but definitely a scary situation.
He's got to stay on his medicine. That's hard. That's AFib, and you can't not keep an eye on that. You have to watch. You have to watch that. AFib's no joke. It'll kill you. And stress, being excited, all that stuff. If you're not on the medication, it will kill you. He's got to pay attention to that shit, especially at his age. He's not a young guy. He's like in his mid-60s, right?
Yeah.
He's just got to be careful, man. And the Chargers, man, Jesus, they can't get a break.
Well, we could. I don't know. I don't know how we could have won a Nobel Prize in Health and Human Services if we could figure out why the Chargers continue to have all kinds of health problems over the last 15 years.
Team doctors.
Yeah. I mean, at least when he had his heart problem, right? His doctor didn't stab him in the lung. You know,
That's true.
That's what I was
true.
going to reference, Tyrod.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the problem with that team is the same problem that other teams have. The Jets, the Panthers, the Chargers, the Cincinnati Bengals. You can even go to the Cleveland Browns if you want. Ownership. It starts with ownership. Those fuckers don't care about anybody but themselves and the bottom line. They don't want to bring in good team doctors. They don't want to bring in good trainers. And as that goes down, trickles down to the team, what do you got? You got a bunch of injured players, and nobody really gives a shit. They love Justin Herbert right now, even though he's probably going to be traded, because he plays injured. He doesn't really care. He just goes out there and plays. Most guys won't do that. They won't jeopardize themselves to go out there and play. He's tough and he's kind of stubborn, and he's doing it. But that team they got to do something. That's where I think the NFL has to step in at some point, because the NFLPA needs to step in and other owners need to step in, because they're not doing them any favors. They're not doing them any favors by going out and getting number 1 draft picks and then getting them hurt and wasting 5 or 6 years of their career. They're not helping anyone. Jerry Jones has gotten to that point.
oh God,
Look at this shit he just did.
oh yeah.
I mean, look what he just did.
Hey, in the words of our good friend LaShawn McCoy, former Super Bowl champion, I have to say this, but Dak is ass. Can I say that on TV? He's ass. I'm sorry, but that was so funny, man. Oh my gosh. 17 of 33, 51% of completion passes, 178 yards passing, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a 42 passer rating, and they lost 47-9 on Jerry Jones' birthday. Oh my gosh.
I think that the Lions were just trying to put 82 up on him, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what it was. Holy shit.
Happy birthday, Jerry.
Oh my God. I mean, that man, he's just fucking old. He's one of those guys that just doesn't want to relinquish any power at all because he's just too fucking old. And I can still do it. Pound sand, I can still do it.
You sound like Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, he can't do it. He can't do it anymore. He's horrible in the draft. He's horrible as a GM. He's not a great owner. I mean, they haven't been relevant since, what, 96? 95?
He's a great businessman. That's what I'll say. And that's
phenomenal
that's what he's got
businessman.
going for him.
But you know what, though? Granted, he came from a long line of money. There's no doubt about that. But in the same aspect, he knows what he's doing to that degree, to the business side. But he made the Cowboys who they are right now. But in the same who they were and also who they are right now. But in the same aspect, he's got a son that's there that could be running the team. He's not allowing him to. It's like he wants to take that team to the grave, like a lot of people want to take their money and spread it around their casket because God forbid they leave it with their kids. That's him. He doesn't want to leave shit to anybody. He's going to be going in there with Alzheimer's trying to figure out how to do this shit with dementia, which I think he's got a little slight case of it right now. He just lost it on some radio guys, which was kind of funny. And I understand from his standpoint too. If you got to think about it, this is a guy that won 3 Super Bowls since he's been owner. He's done a lot as far as revenue is concerned for the Cowboys and the city. You don't want a bunch of guys that have never played a sport in their life telling, well, why didn't you do anything in the draft or in the offseason? I mean, couldn't you have done something better? That's enough to piss any billionaire off. And he's arrogant, so he's going to be that guy. But he's just too fucking old. He used to be good at what he does. Now he's just farting dust. The dude's old. So I don't know. That was an embarrassment for Dak. Just got that fat contract and got his ass handed to him.
They've gotten beaten 3 times this year in 2024 at home by a total of 40 points. The Packers, the Saints, and now the Lions. Wow.
Yeah. I was blown away at the Saints game. I never expected that. because the Saints aren't that good. They're good.
No.
They're an okay football team, but they ain't good enough to kick somebody's ass like that. I don't know. It's weird. It's just weird. Cincinnati, they were talking about that the other day, and they won that game, but it was barely. You're going to look at it, they barely beat the Giants. A horrible football team.
They barely beat the Giants. Yeah.
Barely. And they were talking about Zach Taylor and how he needs to be fired. I agree. Not very good at what he does, but look at what he gets paid. That is an owner that doesn't want to bring in somebody that's a good 12, 15, $18 million a year coach. He wants to bring in somebody he can pay $3 or $4 or $5 million to and hope he wins some games. They got lucky with Burrow for a couple of years. Now, Burrow doesn't want to give up any of his money. Oh, no. I ain't giving up that big fat contract. They got to figure out how to pay Chase if they want to still pay Chase. He's had some good games over the last couple of weeks, still lost, other than, Sunday. But they got to figure out how they're going to come up with enough money to pay all these guys and still compliment the guys that they have. And is this head coach the guy for them? The ownership doesn't want, they're cheap as hell. Everybody knows that. That dude is cheap. He doesn't spend money on nothing. I mean, it was pulling teeth to get him to redo the stadium turf. So why would the rest of the NFL allow teams to destroy people's careers? I've yet to figure that out. Because those players could be on your team. You may want them in 3 or 4 years. You're going to want a guy that had ACL surgery his rookie year? Nope. Want a guy that played with Achilles because they didn't want to get him fixed, but they needed the player out there? Nope. It's a weird thing. Everybody's got to think about that too, because I know things are going to be changing. The NFLPA is stepping in. They are, from what I understand, they're stepping in. And they said next year there's going to be some huge changes with the way these teams are able to operate, how much money they can actually spend, how they can't shortcut on these doctors anymore. They can't shortcut on anything anymore. Just like think about this. Did you guys see Josh Allen concussion?
Yeah, that was remnants of like a 1980s like film. The smelling salts
Exactly.
on the sidelines.
But he was fine. Somehow he passed concussion protocol. How's that possible? You know he was concussed. His hands were twitching on the field. He went back out there and played like total shit. Look at his stats after that and prior to that. Look at his stats. That'll tell you everything you need to know. Somehow that got missed. Don't understand it. Everybody's worried about Tua if he should ever play again because of his concussions, yet they let Josh Allen go back out there. That kind of gives you a little indication of what the NFL's doing versus the NFLPA. The NFL's starting to let some stuff slide that they shouldn't let slide. And he should have never been back out on the field. Never. But they let him back out there. Oh, man. It's getting weird.
Mm-hmm.
Getting very weird. What's next, Quentin?
We were just gonna talk about the AFC West, but we're running a little short on time here.
Well, we could talk about the Raiders and their woes.
I can sum up the Raiders are a dysfunctional franchise who should fire their head coach and should basically try and get assets for anything that they can. And they need to draft a quarterback. So I'd like to be the first to congratulate Shedeur Sanders to be the next Las Vegas Raiders quarterback, and he will bust. There we go. Las Vegas Raiders summed up.
I think they need to find somebody else that can actually. Now that Brady took over, maybe or is minority owner, or is going to be. Maybe he can talk some sense into Mark Davis because he's a fucking idiot. He's not a football guy. He's just not. He's not a football guy at all. He's an idiot. He's nowhere near his dad. Will never be anywhere near his dad. He's an okay business guy, but he's got other people doing that for him too. I don't know. That's just it's a fucked up franchise, and it has been since his dad died. Everybody knows that. That's another place where players go to die. This is what it is. The Broncos. Hey, man. Bo Nix. Looking like a little bit
Mr.
of a
Bo
quarterback right
Picks.
now. He's looking a little bit like a quarterback.
Yeah, except that,
little.
man, he has a tendency to overthrow passes.
Oh, big time. Big time. Yeah, he does. But he's looking a little bit like a quarterback.
Yeah, I guess he's
said
not that
no
good.
Oh,
but
Knicks.
I'm happy that he's the quarterback of the Broncos, and that should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, I still think they're going to be third. Like I said from the beginning.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
the Raiders are so trash that the Broncos can get by.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of comical if you look at what Adam Schefter said, which he's wrong a lot, but he said, well, Devontae Adams may stay because he does like playing with Aiden O'Connell. Really? Do you honestly think if he had an opportunity to go play with his buddy Aaron Rodgers or stick with Aiden O'Donnell that can't get out of his own fucking way, he's going to pick the Raiders? You're wrong. He's not. He thinks he's going to be the savior for Aaron Rodgers. That's what he wants to be. That's where he went.
Well,
So the AFC West is trash, by the way. I mean,
trash.
it's really bad, except for the Chargers, which I think they have a legitimate shot of maybe making a playoff game this year. The rest of the AFC West is terrible.
They're the number one scoring defense in the NFL right now, the Chargers. So, yeah,
Yep.
I give them that edge, but we still got them.
Well, and
Oh,
I
we
think
got
a lot
him.
of that. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they're really good at controlling the clock. They have an offense that doesn't turn the ball over a lot, so they aren't giving opposing offensive short fields. Like a lot of that is just they're more of an efficient as a team, and that's not necessarily just because of their defense.
You know who else was like that, though? And Harbaugh reminds me a lot of Marty Schottenheimer in that way. Marty was a totally different coach in a lot of ways, especially his way he treated players. But that pound the ball first, control the clock, win the games, bend, don't break, that was Marty Schottenheimer's mindset. That's kind of how Jim Harbaugh coaches the game.
Hey, you know what? Harbaugh's good for the NFL. He says some wacky shit
is.
in press conference. He makes
Man,
me
he
laugh.
does some weird shit.
I know, like
He is funny as hell.
he is. Yeah, he seems like I could see why players, like to play under him because he just seems like, it's all like Dan Campbell, where he just kind of leaves
Pete
it all
Carroll.
out there.
Yeah.
But, like when they said that they were going to play on the East Coast for 2 weeks, right? They said that they were going to stay over on the East Coast, and he told everybody to bring board games so they could play games together. Like that's the kind of shit I vibe with,
It's funny. I mean, it's funny that he does that weird shit. Like when he climbed into the fucking ice tub with all of his clothes on, phone in his pocket. That's funny shit. No matter how you look at it, that's a funny guy.
Just bring a bag of rice, call it good.
Yeah. He's minute rice. What gets me the most is when he's looking through those glasses. Has anybody really looked at him? He looks like that gif of Fred Sanford when his eyes are like this big around. But Jim, when he's down and he's looking towards the field, I guarantee he's trying to figure out where the fuck the play is. The guy's got the worst vision of any head coach I've ever seen. Thick ass Coke bottle glasses, eyes going different directions and shit. That's funny. He's a funny guy. Anyway, I like him. I think he's going to be good for the team eventually. I do think they're going to trade Justin Herbert, though. I think that's what's going to happen. He doesn't need a guy like Herbert. He needs a game manager, somebody that doesn't care about throwing the ball as much because Harbaugh doesn't give a shit about throwing the ball. He wants to pound the ball on the ground and throw some passes here and there. He doesn't care what the new NFL looks like. Just doesn't affect him. He coaches the way he coaches. So we'll see what happens, but I think Herbert's done after this year. I don't think he's going to be back. I think he goes to a team that actually will utilize his talents. So that being said, I think that's all we got, right?
That's all we got.
All right, guys. Well, we will talk to you guys again in a couple of days. unless it's just as dry as it is right now. We can do.
We got a game to prepare for though on Thursday.
We got a game. Yeah, we got a game to prepare for. So we will be back on Thursday. We'll talk to you then. We'll give you some predictions, and we'll have fun doing it. Phillips, thanks for coming on, bro.
Always, man. Always.
All right, bro. Well, we will talk to you guys again on Thursday. Peace out, everybody.